30th. He had a mountain home and was up there over the summer and had a fall, and he died from injuries that were sustained from that. I just wanted to do a moment of silence for Gerald Smith, and also let everybody know that at 2 o'clock today at the Dunbar Chapel, there are going to be services in his memory, and that's on Divine Street, so please join me in a moment of silence for Gerald Smith. Thank you. Perry Oct8th is going to offer our invocation.
Everyone bow your head with me. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you in Jesus' name, and we thank you for another wonderful Monday, waking us all up, and another opportunity to impact somebody else for your kingdom, Father. Thank you for this club and what it means to our community and across the world. I pray you continue to bless every single one of us. Use this food to the nourishment of our body, that we might be able to go out and better do your will. In your name we pray, amen.
Thanks, Barry. While everybody's taking a seat, and Blake Buchanan is on his way up here to introduce visiting Rotarians and guests, I just want to thank everybody for your contributions to the CART Fund. With a few reminders, last week we had over $450 placed in the CART Fund, and that's well above our average, actually, even for a month. So thank you for your generosity in the CART. And here's Blake Buchanan.
Thanks, President Stephen. As of right now, we didn't have any visiting Rotarians today, but if you have a guest, would you please stand and we'll introduce your guest for us. Andrew is going to have our mic.
Hi, I'm Margaret Clarkson. This is my guest, is Graham Moore of the Moore Company, the real estate company on Divine Street. There are a couple of cool things about him. He's created a social media campaign called Flip and Give. It's very different for Columbia, and the proceeds go to charity. But the other neat thing is he's the listing agent for Bull Street.
Hi, I'm Libby Gober, and this is my, hopefully, the last time I will be introducing her, because she's actually going to become a member of our club, Cheryl Swanson, who is Vice President of our Convention Center.
I'm Carrie Powers, and I have Kim Mitchell with me from Castle Brothers Heating and Cooling, and this is probably the last time she'll be my guest, and she'll be joining our club as well. And I also have Jeffrey Giles here, and he's with Cutthroat Marketing.
Thank you all, and as a reminder, just try to bring guests every week so they can enjoy our speakers, and thank you all very much.
Thank you, Blake. Welcome to all our no visiting Rotarians. Welcome to all of our guests today. We're glad to have you. I think you're in for a real treat. We've got a great meeting planned for you today. And pulling double duty today is Perry Oct8th, who is also, in addition to our invocation, offering health and happiness. So please welcome back Perry Oct8th.
Thanks, Stephen, and I hope everyone's doing good today. So for a few health and happiness announcements, we want to celebrate Cynthia Giles and her husband Jeff on their 1-year anniversary. Unfortunately, on a lesser note, Mr. Ed Greenleaf, he was a former member of this club. He passed away last week due to some heart complications. He was only 54 years old, which is it's never good when you hear stuff like that. Another note, flu shots, flu season. Make sure you go get your shots. I know that it's painful and it kind of feel weird after, but probably need to go get those, including myself. And then to end on that, really good news, I would say that 95% of you guys that came through said you were healthy and happy, which is pretty good. I'll take it. I wanted to bring to y'all's attention, not sure if you've heard or not, but there is a hurricane right now, it's a tropical storm right now. There's a hurricane forming in the Gulf of Mexico, and they're saying right now it's going to make landfall Wednesday-ish Wednesday morning, mid-afternoon, right between Tallahassee and Jacksonville. And it's supposed to hit at a Category 3 and then work its way up through Atlanta, right through Columbia. I know we kind of had a scare with Florence here in town, but just something to be prepared about, saying tropical storm winds around 60 to 65 miles an hour Thursday, so tonight would probably be a good time to go to the grocery store and just prepare just in case anything happens. And I don't know why they always tell you to grab milk and bread, because milk will probably be the first thing to go bad, but make sure you get your bread and water. And while I have the stage, obviously, I've been up here talking about Clemson Carolina football. I did want to give everyone kind of a mid-season update while I have the opportunity. We're about the mid-season point. Clemson's played 6 games, Carolina's played 5. Obviously, Carolina would have played a 6th game due to the hurricane. Clemson, unfortunately, looks about as good as they've ever looked. I go on 107.5 The Game every Tuesday morning from 7 to 8, and then Sunday nights I do WIS, I go on the news, and then we have a Facebook Live show, and seeing the rushing statistics that Clemson has right now, their one running back, Travis Etienne, he's averaging 9 yards per carry, and he's starting to get his name into the Heisman mix, and then obviously we all know what happened with the quarterback situation at Clemson, and they've got 2 freshmen that are more than capable of winning a lot of games for them, so they're looking about like Clemson has looked the last few years, and South Carolina is kind of going back and forth right now. We had a huge win in one of the most interesting games I think all of us Carolina fans had ever watched. You know, you have 2 rain delays and the monsoon that happened, and a good buddy of mine, Michael Scarnecchia, took over at quarterback and played lights out. I was telling Steven yesterday I was in Milo, and apparently Michael and I look alike, and this guy came up, shook my hand, and said, "Hey man, you played a hell of a game yesterday." And I looked at him, I was like, "I appreciate it, man. You know, I was really seeing the field well." I called Michael after, and I said, "Hey man, I just want to let you know you got to keep playing good, because the better you play, the more publicity and the more fame I get." And then of course he went on to make fun of me and tell me that I was a lot uglier than he is, so. But yeah, South Carolina is playing Texas A&M here, 3:30 on Saturday afternoon. Texas A&M is a good team, runs the football well, stops the run really well. Something that Carolina, 2 things we haven't done very well, but I tell you what, when Michael came in, he brought almost kind of a calm composure, ran the offense really well, and I think everyone was really pleased the way that he played. And then Clemson is in a bye week right now, so they will rest up and get ready for, I think they play NC State the week after that, which is always a good game. I did want to leave you guys with a few Clemson Carolina jokes that I thought would be really pretty interesting to share. So we'll start off first with jokes about USC. You gotta get the bad stuff out of the way, because I know we have some Clemson people in here, so it kind of pains me to read these. It says, "What does the average University of South Carolina student get on his SAT? Drool." I don't believe that. Now there's a couple football jabs in here. It says, "What do you call a South Carolina football player with a championship ring?" A thief. "Why do South Carolina Gamecocks eat cereal straight from the box?" It says, "They choke whenever they get near a bowl." I know, I didn't want to read it. Shut up, Clemson people. Alright, here you go. Here's the good stuff. Jokes about Clemson. How do you know when you're in a Clemson bar? If you call the number on the bathroom wall and get the farm report. How do you compliment a Clemson fan? Nice tooth. Now this may be a little inappropriate, but I thought it was fair. I'm going to say it anyway. Why did they cancel the Christmas play at Clemson last year? Said they couldn't find 3 wise men or a virgin. That's all. I
used to love sitting out there when somebody would say an inappropriate joke and just looking at the president. And now when I hear somebody, announce they're about to tell a borderline joke, I kind of look down. I think this is going to be a phone call to me or an email to me later this week.
Sorry.
No, that was hilarious, Barry. I love that joke. You did a great job. Thank you. Thank you. That was very short notice too. I just want to say, Perry put that together for us this morning, so I appreciate his willingness to continue to volunteer and work. We have a really special meeting coming up next month in November on Veterans Day, where we're going to have several World War II veterans in attendance with us. And here to give you an update on that and to talk a little bit about it and a commitment that we need from some people in this room is our past president, Hal Stevenson.
Thank you, Stephen. Louisa has set up a program that Bill Dukes is going to lead, and it's going to be concerning the Fisher House. You'll learn about it, but it basically is like Ronald McDonald House, but for people in the military or in the hospital, their families to hang out. So Bill has been on the board of the Honor Flight of South Carolina, and they decided to disband as a group to give the remainder of their money to the Fisher House as a donation. So Bill thought it would be a good idea to go back and bring as many of the Honor Flight guys that he took to Washington as possible. So when he started going back and finding black guys, these are all guys that were World War II veterans that were taken to Washington to the memorial, and it was a really huge thing. Most of you probably remember that. So anyway, he was very successful and surprised to find as many veterans out there. So we are going to have at least 17 World War II veterans coming to visit us, and many of which have caregivers with them. Now Bill brings some folks as part of the program and paying for them, but Louisa and I thought that it would be pretty easy to get people to sponsor one of these veterans for lunch that day. So we already have 3, Louisa, myself, and Stephen. We're the only 3 that knew the opportunity was there. Thank you, Elliot. That's 4. If y'all will just let me know, just real quick, write a note on a card or something else. I'm sure we're going to be able to cover it. We want to make sure we do, make it a very special program. So thank you in advance for your generosity, and you can talk to Stephen or me both. Louisa's on a tough vacation somewhere on a boat near Alaska, I think. So she'll be here next week, and you can talk to her. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Val. Appreciate your leadership on that. We're going to take 5 minutes for a table social, so enjoy getting to know your fellow Rotarians at the table. Hope you enjoyed that time to catch up and talk to your fellow Rotarians a little bit. A couple of announcements from me. Rotary Day at the State Fair, we mentioned this and we had a member of the Main Street Rotary Club come and speak to us. It is next Thursday, October the 18th. If you look at our newsletter, there's details about it. It's really all day from 12 to 6. They're trying to get as many people as they can there around 5 o'clock or 5:30. I can't remember which one, but check the newsletter because they're trying to apply for some Guinness World Record. I don't really understand it, or I would explain more. But it is a great thing. The Main Street Club is a new club, a young club. They've got a lot of good ideas, so I think if we can support that with some members there, that would be a good thing. World Polio Day is coming up on October 24th. As many of you know, this is Polio Awareness Month. It is going to be, World Polio Day is going to be recognized in our district at the State House on, is it October 24th? I'm not sure what day of the week that is. But Wednesday, October 24th. At 1 o'clock, there's going to be a gathering of Rotarians. Cynthia provided some details in our newsletter, but they want everybody to wear red shirts. That's the color to bring awareness to ending polio. And next week, our Rotary International Foundation Chair, Mason Hardy, is going to talk a little bit more about it. He's also going to talk a little bit more about how you can give directly to polio awareness and ending polio worldwide, which, as you know, is an important initiative for Rotary. I am now going to introduce our immediate past president, Carrie Powers. She's going to introduce our speaker today. This is a home run program. I'm really excited about it. So, come on, Carrie.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to be back up here with all of you again. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing my good friend and our fellow Rotarian, Cynthia Giles. So back when I was elected to president of this club, President Mark called me up one day and he said, "Oh, Carrie, you got to find somebody to take over this public image chair thing because you can't do this and prepare to be president of this club." And so I had to start looking, and being public image chair of this club is just this shy of being president as far as the workload that you have. So it's a lot of work and a lot of attention to detail, and if you really knew what Cindy does to keep us all informed about what we're doing, you would come up here and shake her hand because it's just a lot of work. And anyway, I was so glad when she decided to join our club. I worked on her a little bit and got her to join the club. But when, so she has far exceeded any accomplishment I ever made when I was public image chair. We have a brand new website. Our social media feed is really nice and robust, and I think really quick y'all need to give her a really big hand for that. And our AV always works every week, and that's a huge plus, as we all know. But when I met Cindy several years ago when she joined the Irmo Chamber, she was a kid, and I mean that in the best way. I'm not being condescending. She was a kid, and she came walking in my chamber and she joined. She was a California girl that had come to South Carolina to be with her now husband Jeff, and she is an entrepreneur. She started her business, Cutthroat Marketing, and is very passionate about website design and development, and today she's going to talk to you about protecting your data online. So she's also a board member of the Irmo Chamber. If you guys went to the Ochre Strut a couple of weeks ago, she was instrumental in putting that event on. Bless your heart, you did a great job. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce Cynthia. She's going to talk about protecting your data online and why you should stop giving your data to the Russians, right? Cynthia Giles.
Thank you guys for letting me come and talk to you today. Thank you, Carrie and Stephen. I appreciate the honor of being here. It is a tall order to come and talk to this crowd of people, so forgive me if I'm a little nervous at first. I am not going to stand right here. I'm going to come down in front of here because I know what I'm about to talk about is not the simplest subject, and it's easier if you guys are able to see as I go along with it. So as Carrie mentioned, I am the public image chair for club number 6231 for our club, this wonderful club here. In this position, I've built our club website to be secure and to meet the privacy and security needs of the powers that be. That is Google, mostly. Every week, I access the club database. Sorry. Every week, I access the club database. Thank you. To schedule and to send out all of the emails. This database connects to our website, and it has all of your guys' information. If you've stored a credit card in there, it has that information. It has where you work, it has your home address, it has all of your billing information. I have access to that, and you guys can trust me with that. And I'm here today to tell you how you can also be more trustworthy in that fight. When you have a device that connects to the internet, you are now a soldier in the fight to protect the internet here in our country. You are a cybersecurity soldier. And the reason why I say this is because your connection is a gateway, it's an opening. You have to keep that in mind, and you have to be aware of the fact that you, as well as everybody else, has a connection to the internet. So you are responsible for what you do on the internet. And that is what I'm here to talk to you about today. most of you are probably like, why should I care about cybersecurity, right? I don't have $1 million in my bank account, and my house is my house. I don't have a bunch of estate or property. I'm not a giant business. So why would anybody be interested in what I have or my data? The reason why is because of national security. I am one person, but I am one of hundreds of millions of people in this country. And when all of us have 1 or 2 devices that connect to the internet, and all of those are a gateway into what we do and show all of our data, that is a giant window into what our country does. And that is why you are a soldier for our national security. As I mentioned earlier, all of your smartphones, every computer is a door to the internet. What is the internet? According to this very lofty definition, there's probably only a few people in here that will understand this. The internet is a global computer network providing a variety of information and communication facilities consisting of interconnected networks using standardized communication protocols. Anybody understand what that means? Yes. Yeah. What? The internet is actually, the easiest way to break it down is to think of it as a library. Every single time you access the internet, you're looking for information. It's a giant library of information. Every website, every smartphone, every Internet of Things device, IoT device in your house that you have is a book in this library. And you are able to search this library using search engines like data cards or search catalogs. So your smartphone, again, is a door to this library. When you carry around your smartphone and you have access to this library, it's important that you protect it. Obviously, the internet is very much more complex than that, but as we move forward, this will help you guys all visualize what it is we are discussing. The reason why our library is really important is because anybody can be an author. So you have this access to be able to find anything. You can go online and literally find anything. I don't have to be a mechanic, but I can go online and figure out how to change my own spark plugs or change my own oil. I can go online and figure out how to start my own website. The problem with everybody being an author, though, is it's easy for people to pretend to be things they are not. It is very simple to go online and make a website and make it seem like it is a legitimate website and make it seem like I am a real person, part of that business, when I am not. You can make a lot of money doing that, which is why it's important you must judge your website by the title, not by the cover. Just because it looks like it's PayPal doesn't mean it is PayPal. What is the title of a website? The title is your domain. Our domain, for example, ColumbiaRotaryClub.org. It's not Rotary Club of Columbia. It is not Rotary of Cola. It is ColumbiaRotaryClub.org. The reason why that is important is because computers do not understand the spoken language that we understand. They speak code. And so this is actually taken and behind the scenes it's converted into a bunch of digits. And if it is off by one character, then you are not on the same website that I built. It is important to keep an eye on your title as you are navigating your website, especially in social media settings. You will notice that as you go from page to page, your title or the domain of that website may change. Some cases this is not important. It might be it's supposed to happen. In some cases it could be really bad. It could be that you clicked on something and you thought was taking you to another page within that website, but it really was an advertisement that took you to another website. And now you're putting your information on something that has nothing to do with the original website you were on to begin with. For example, this is the homepage of another website I created, the Greater Irmo Chamber. As you see here, which you might not be able to, it's a little small, but the title of this page is GreaterIrmoChamber.com. When I click on events, it becomes business.GreaterIrmoChamber.com. And then there's some sub-files behind that saying that I went deeper into a folder, but this is actually a different website. This is not the website I created. This is what is called a landing page on a different server provided by the software that the chamber uses to keep track of all of their members, like what we do here at Rotary. It's Chamber Master. So this is an acceptable acceptable redirect. It is appropriate, but in some cases, this is not what you're looking for. If you do not have an account on a website and it is not something you're aware of, why are you putting in username and information? Just, if you don't need an account, don't make one. Question why you're on that website to begin with. So now you're all probably like, what does all of this have to do with national security? A library is a really quiet place. They're usually pretty secure. You don't go about fighting wars in libraries, right? Okay. It has to do with protecting it because, again, it is an infrastructure. It's a part of our nation now. We store all of our data, all of our information. Everything we do is online. I don't know if you guys heard about it a few months ago, but there was a top secret base that actually was made public because of the smartwatches people were wearing. They did not turn off their GPS location while they were on that base. They didn't do anything wrong, they just didn't pay attention to what they were doing. They gave an opening to one of our secret bases here in the country just by wearing a smartwatch. That is what I mean by we are all soldiers in this fight. We have to be aware. In that case, it was giving up a base. Obviously, that's a high-level security thing. Please go ahead and try to attack it. But the more important things are our infrastructure, our water, our electrical grid. If someone got into those, would we be able to know that they were hacked right away? How long would it take? Would it be an entire outage of our entire nation before we realized that we didn't have control of our power grid again? All of us are responsible in this fight because every window, every smartphone is an opening that could give another opening for a foreign country to get in there. That is why we are all soldiers in this fight. But before you freak out and think, oh my gosh, I'm gonna turn off my smartphone and never get online again, that is not what I'm here for. We have enough fear mongering in this world. I think you are all fully capable of using these tools properly. So I'm gonna give you some tips to move forward. I know, we're not tech savvy. So, my first question is, so far, have you learned anything? Has anybody learned anything? Raise your hand. I'm sure most of you have a better understanding of how domains work, right? So, and that is very important because just understanding that is the entire, it's the way to begin. I mean, you can't go and fight a war if you don't understand why. So, learning is half the battle. Ask questions and don't be afraid to learn. It's really simple. Everything I do is online on Google. You can go and learn how to code and break into a firewall and do everything you want just watching a few videos on YouTube. But there are lots of people out there and lots of free resources. One of the things I put in front of you is a free resource that actually comes from the Federal Trade Commission. The Department of Homeland Security and the Federal Trade Commission want you to be prepared in this fight. They know that you are a soldier in this fight, and they will give you as many free booklets as you want. You can give them out to your entire staff, all of your children. Everybody who uses a smartphone should have this information in front of them, and it's really simple. The other thing you should do is read before you agree. And this is a big deal on, especially with social media. Before you agree to an application, before you download something on your phone, before you give your information out, stop and read what you are doing. Pay attention to it. Does that application really need your phone numbers? It's a Candy Crush game, probably not. Don't download it. And then stop and think before you connect. The reason I put this here is because most of us don't realize if you are connecting to a public Wi-Fi, you are connecting your window device to something that now other people can see. And it does not have encryption. And so if you are going to connect to a public Wi-Fi, think before you connect to your bank account, because that's not secure any longer. Or your work. How many of us have high sensitive information that could not be public? Don't access your Wi-Fi. And then put on your bulletproof vest. We're never going to send you out to battle without, good protection. So you need a bulletproof vest and you need your weapons. But what is your bulletproof vest? Well, we're going to protect our books with passwords. And I know everybody's like, oh my gosh, IT, security, always talks about stupid passwords. I have like 1 million passwords. I'm so over passwords, right? No, okay. All of our vests, all of our bulletproof vests are actually our passwords. And you have to make sure your password is strong enough to survive all of the bullets that are being thrown at it. So your password, every account you have is, chances are, there's robots going after it. These little technical robots from Russia or China going after your password, and they are literally trying to get into it and guess it every second of the day, millions of times. And every password you have leaves, at the end of the day, a wholly bulletproof vest. And if you reuse that password over and over again, then by the time you get to your banking account, how much of a bulletproof vest do you have left? That is why you do not reuse your passwords. That is why you do not use information that is guessable about you as your password. How many of you have your children's names and the names of your pets on your social media, and then also use that information to be your passwords? How many? It's very common, but it's very easy to make a password. It should be about 13 characters long, and it really shouldn't relate to you at all. Like I was telling some people the other day, make a rhyme out of it. Fuzzy Wuzzy 89. You're never gonna forget that, but it's not gonna be guessed. That's very simple. There's also password managers out there, but I hate them. The other thing is you're not gonna go into battle empty-handed. You're gonna have weapons. And in the tech world, your weapons are your firewall and your anti-malware. The reason why I call it anti-malware is because we are way beyond viruses. People do not want to spend the type of money on a virus when they could just put some malware on your thermostat and mine for bitcoins. So we need to make sure that your antivirus is actually anti-malware, that it scans all of your websites as well as any downloads and any flash drives that are put into your computer or your device. Your firewall can be software or a hard device, but that is all dependent on what your need is. That's where a lot of people get concerned about the weapons in the IT field is you don't need an AK-47 to protect a shack, but you can't use a pistol to protect a giant corporation. So you have to make sure your firewall and your anti-malware devices meet your need. And then next you're gonna back it up. You don't take all of your troops into war, and you don't leave your home base unprotected. You don't print just one copy of a book, so why wouldn't you back up your data? It just makes sense. We live in a swamp that floods all the time. It's a good way to back it up, and if something happened to the library and everything was taken, you at least could restore your data and get back to work. Many businesses do not recover from a data loss. You guys, the reason I'm here today and talking to you and why I was really adamant about being here and not talking about what it is I actually do is because we are all leaders, and I feel it is very important for us to all have a better understanding of what our role is in the internet security, as well as getting our word out there. You are able to set the example, and if your cell phone has connected to your email and you just leave it on your table and someone can pick it up, your staff and the people beneath you are going to see that and think that that is a good way to perform going forward. So please set the example and show them that internet security and device security is important. You are all leaders in your field. That is why we are all here today. And it is all of our responsibilities to be a good cybersecurity soldier, because we are all Americans. Does anybody have any questions? Go ahead. Just.
What's your recommended way to avoid Google at all costs?
Avoid Google?
Yeah.
What do you use Google for?
I don't know it, but I know they're there.
Well, Google is used as a search engine. So if you do not need to search online, then you don't need to use Google. There's Bing, as well as depending on what your preferred social media platform. Most people use Facebook to search things now. If your main concern is getting rid of what you feel is the unsecure aspect of Google, I would use Google Incognito because it does not track your data and doesn't keep track of your cookies.
Doesn't Google have other presence other than search?
Yes, but you do not have to use those if you do not want to. Yes, sir.
You see the advertisement all the time, PC Mac. Is there anything to that? Tell us about that.
That's more computer repair. My understanding, and please, I don't work for that company, so if I'm speaking out of tune, forgive me, but my understanding of what they do is if your device is broken, like you have a broken screen on your laptop, or you need some kind of hardware fix.
No. They say they protect it from malware, from viruses. They say they protect the entry of anything. And then if it does get in, they can stop it. It's what they advertise.
I would have to look at their service offering because they themselves are not a software provider or a hardware manufacturer, so I would not be able to tell you what they're using to make that possible. Yes, sir.
So everyone always says that like if you set up an online web login somewhere, always use a unique password. But yes, you have to have one for everything. What's your tips on using a password? I mean, can you use the same password for a lot of your stuff that's unique, or do you really have to go through there and create 100 different passwords for every?
So my husband right here is looking at me like, make sure you answer this correctly because he's the IT security guy. Yes, it is best practice to have a unique password for every single different login. That's the thing, is that you're never gonna remember a million passwords. So there's two options. You can do a password manager like Log Me In or a Dashlane, where you have to remember one main password and then you rely on this piece of software to generate random passwords for you at all times. And they keep track of all of your logins for you. Sometimes those password managers cost money, so they're not the most cost-effective form for a basic everyday user. They can also be more cumbersome for some of us, like me in particular. I'm not a fan of them. My suggestion is to have common sense with your websites. Don't use the same password for your bank over and over again. Don't use the same password for your power bill over and over again. But your Facebook and your Twitter account probably could share the same password. Just don't put any personal information on your more unsecure accounts. Does that make sense? And then that way you only have your more important accounts that you have to worry about. Yes, sir.
It seems like you have the expertise to possibly invent something that would solve that problem for us. IO scanner or something that would allow us on our smartphones and our computers to have that security without having to remember 100 passwords. Because I've got literally sheets of paper full of passwords in different places that I have to figure out which ones are accurate. Half the time I just say I forgot my password and start over, and then I have to figure out what that messed up. It's a problem. Someone needs to solve it and make a lot of money.
It is definitely one of the things that I know, especially if smartphones are working on. The new iPhone update includes your face, and so it scans your face to be able to get in. There are other issues with those on the other side. Do you now have the ability to plead the fifth? Do you have, your right to privacy? If you were to get arrested, are they allowed to just put your phone up to your face? So we have to walk this line very, it's a big tightrope. We have to watch it tread lightly. Obviously, the more we give our devices to be able to scan us personally, the less of our actual privacy we get. So my question is do you really need that many accounts? Do we really need that many accounts set up with all of our information out there? Do I really need to have an account for Candy Crush? Is it that important that I keep my progress? Does Candy Crush really need all of my Facebook information? I don't need an account for every coupon out there. I could just pay the extra $2 and keep my stuff safer.
Yeah, but I do know what Candy Crush is. What I'm talking about is most people are going to paying bills online now, checking their bank accounts online. And, you know, if you run a business, you've got 100 of those accounts that are legitimate accounts.
Yeah.
Not games and not things you shouldn't, but you have the option, if you're gonna convert to digital bill payment systems, you're gonna have access to those in a secure way, and that means password.
Yes, you are correct, and I didn't mean to come across condescending in any way, but for your work, I would suggest that you have a password manager. Your work should have an entire password policy in place, because as an employment, you are responsible for the data that you provide on behalf of your clients to your employees. And so if you do not have a proper password management policy in place on some kind of password manager within your work, then you might be at risk of being liable for some kind of data breach on that behalf. On the other side of things, for your more personal stuff, like I said, I would come up with a password that you can remember. Maybe focus it on what your favorite TV show is for the quarter and put on the TV show, the time, and the date. And then that way it's easy for you to remember, and just change that password slightly from website to website. Don't use the same exact password, but maybe capitalize a different letter on this website, so it's not the same exact password. Remember that computers don't read it as language like you and I, they read it as digits, as code. So as long as you just capitalize one thing or remove a letter and add a number, you've completely changed that password. Yes, sir.
Speak to, especially for business, multi-factor authentication.
That is definitely something you should do. It's also something that you can set up on Facebook as well now. Multi-factor authentication is where you log in with your password, and then most cases it sends you a text message, and you also then have to put in a code. That is a way for you to protect your password, as well as make sure that it really is you and someone didn't steal your password. They're very handy. A lot of my personal logins have a dual factor authentication, and if you can do it, I suggest you set that up. Yes?
Are some computer hardware better for security sake than others? Like, I've always heard Macs are really better.
That is not true. Everything is susceptible to malware, and it's really how you use your device. Unfortunately, all devices are pretty similar. The software is going to be different, but it's really on how you use it. If you're installing your antivirus and you are not clicking on everything and downloading everything, then you're going to be secure regardless of if you use an Acer or a Dell or a Mac. Macs can be hacked and receive malware just like anything else. Yes.
One thing, you have certainly not been condescending to me, I can assure you. Most of it's going over my head. Is it a bad idea if you've got accounts such as credit cards or bank information, is it a bad idea to tell your computer to authorize it to log me in? Is that a bad idea?
I would say yes, it's a bad idea. And I know if you read the security under each search browser, like Google Chrome's update would tell you that it's secure and it's totally fine, but it's not. Your credit card should not be saved out there. The only thing that should know your credit card at all times is your bank account. If you have it tied into multiple accounts, then that's multiple accounts you now have to go update and change your password and all of that. So my suggestion would be to not do that. Some people do open up a special credit card just for that though, so. Yes, sir.
I think I have some bad news for you. As a lawyer, my experience in recent times, certainly in the last couple of years, is that there is no possible way to protect your information. I have a service, and I can tell you for the right amount of money, I can discover anything that you've ever put on the internet, no matter what you do. So if I were your lawyer, I would suggest you stay the hell off the internet.
being educated. I do agree with that sentiment, but if we're all slightly more educated on how all of these applications work and what kind of data we're giving out, there's not going to be data out there for them to get. And it's really it's a dual-sided coin. We put our data out there. Stop giving your data away. Yes, sir.
Cynthia, as a small business owner, I've recently purchased cyber security insurance for my company, and I was told that that's a good idea if you take credit cards either online or via the phone. Could you speak to that and what our liability may be as a business owner if you're taking credit cards?
I cannot speak to the policy itself. Unfortunately, I'm not sure what that all covers, but I can speak to the fact that changes in 2017 to the Federal Trade Commission made it to where even small businesses are liable if they do not take proper procedures to protect data. So if you are responsible for a data breach and you told your bank that you had your credit card machine hooked up to a dedicated internet line and you really don't, you're responsible for that data breach. So my suggestion would be hire someone locally to come in and do a free network assessment of your business, and they will let you know if you're really going to be covered by that policy or not, because we all know insurance says if you don't do everything correctly, they're not going to cover it. Thank you, guys.
Cynthia, thank you so much. You wear many hats around here, and you do a good job with anything that we task you to do. There were obviously a lot of questions, and lucky for us, she's a member of our club. She sends you an email once a week, so you know how to get in touch with her. If you have any more questions, I'm sure she would be happy to answer those. And I'm going to give you our commemorative coin that we give all of our speakers that has the four-way test on it. And unfortunately, the hackers and the bots are not using the four-way test at all. So you have happy anniversary to you and Jeffrey as well. That's fantastic. One last quick announcement. I am looking for a volunteer from the club to help head up our Salvation Army bell ringing campaign this year. I just spoke to the major. It is that time of year again. It's amazing. We're already in the fourth quarter and the holidays are right around the corner. I've been very strategic in tasking different people to lead different things in the club, and I've been very deliberate about that. And I also think I've shown, the leadership of the club has shown a lot of good faith in putting things on. So I'm going to throw this out there just as a blanket chance for anybody to come to me. If you're willing to volunteer, I would appreciate it. And next week, our program is Jim Gandy, local celebrity and climatologist, meteorologist. He's coming to talk to us about climate change and weather trends. So that's certainly very timely with Hurricane Michael off the coast of Florida right now. Pay attention as things develop later this week. Like Perry reminded us earlier, let's all be vigilant, and we will stand and close this off.